just because it was mentioned, oh, Jean's here.
Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Hi, Jane.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
There we go.
Hey, Jean.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's it like in Rhode Island?
It's chilly.
We're going to start the meeting. A call to order. It's 10:02. What I was going to mention was in the recording, the meeting, I went back and counted. I think I have 33 recordings since we started doing Zoom meetings last year. And I know there were a few meetings I didn't record for whatever reason. Sometimes at that time, they had the record button in a different location and I would forget to hit the button. And so now they have it down on the bottom of my screen and it's easier to remember it. And it's nice that you could all hear the announcement, right? That the meeting was being recorded.
Yes.
I think that's important. I think people should know that they're being recorded. And so I'm not sure they used to do that. So
yeah, they also print a disclaimer. They print a disclaimer and you can choose to leave if you don't want to be recorded.
Yeah. Okay, let me get the agenda up. You've got a copy of the minutes, hopefully. Let me see where I put those. Yes. So is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they'll stand approved as sent. The next thing on the agenda is a review of the website. I guess I didn't look at Google Analytics, so I haven't gotten any new information about how many people are using the website. It's been pretty constant over the last 6-7 months, about the same number of users per month. We're going to get into a couple other issues today about updating the website. Any other issues that we need to talk about as far as reviewing the website? If not, then we'll move along here. The next item is the directory issues that we discussed. I sent out an email. There were I think I reported at the last meeting there were about 55 people on the list who had their profiles marked as no show. I went through the list and I kind of goofed up a little bit. In order to send out the email, I had to have the list. And then when I went to change different people's, the profile on different people, they disappear from the list. So I actually had the first couple people I took, changed their profile, and then they didn't show up on the list. So I stopped doing that, sent the list out, and then, or sent the email out, and then I went back and and change their profiles. But what I didn't do is I didn't write down whether or not they had an email address. So as it turns out, I have here, where is it?
Chris, did you mail them letters?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure who, I didn't keep track like I should have of the ones that didn't have an email address, so I'm not sure who to mail it to. So that's why I kind of screwed that up. Let me see if I can drop this down. There we go. I did track this, that of 39 that got sent out, there must have been not all of the ones that, not all of the 55 that we started with would have been legitimate owners or residents. The lawyers in there, the bugman's in there. There's several others that wouldn't have had their profiles shown. In fact, there were some of the employees are in there. They asked me to add employees, and so some of those people would have been on that list as well. So I can't tell you for sure how many didn't have an email address. That was again my error in not keeping track of whether or not they had email addresses or not. And so of the 39 that got sent out, I can see that 24 of them were viewed. That doesn't mean that they were that they read them. It just means that they opened the email. I've only had one response since I sent it out, and that was a woman who said that she was having trouble getting into the website, and I checked her information, and somehow we had her access level at the wrong level. So she was, I corrected it, and she was happy with that. She was able to get into the website. So I haven't taken any, I haven't looked at to see whether anybody has hidden their information or not. So we'll have to kind of.
Chris, can I ask, can't the office give you the names of the people that are living in these or own these units?
Sure. Well,
I mean, the office must know who lives in each unit or who owns each unit.
Well,
but we don't.
We have that. The question was, do we know, you know, who didn't receive this information by email? That I don't know how we can figure out at this point.
Well, is it possible to send a mailing out to these 50 units, or right now you're talking 24 or something, that we don't have emails? It doesn't matter if you have an email or not. We have a unit number with nobody there.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. Once I made the change on the profile, we no longer know who was on that list, because the list was a filtered list that said who's a no-show, who marked their profile no. Well, when I changed everybody's profile that was no to yes, I can no longer run a list of who that, I can't run that original list again. So I think it's sort of a moot point. I think that if people didn't have an email address, the chances of them actually looking at the website is probably lower. And so I'm not sure they would notice that we've changed their profile.
So you're saying we have a complete directory now?
Yes, yes. I know, Lynn, you were looking at somebody in 810, is that right?
Yes.
And they should be there now.
I'm just looking. Oops.
Yeah, it probably would be a good idea to see if we did miss anybody that were somehow, I mean, I'm not sure how we would have missed them, because I did, the original filter was show me all the people that are saying no to their show profile. So, but it's still possible that somehow somebody got missed. So it wouldn't hurt for everybody to check their areas to see if there's any units missing.
Well, 810 is in with an email. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, once I marked everybody that was no to yes, they should show up in the directory. So, so the directory should be complete. One of the issues that we discussed at the last meeting was whether or not we are telling new owners or new renters that, or are we asking them for permission to show their email address? Roger at our last meeting made a point of giving us the information from the state statute, from the Florida statute, that says we're supposed to ask a resident if we can show their email. And I emailed John with that question. I haven't heard back from John, but I did talk to Maggie, and Maggie said she wasn't aware that that was something that had to be done. And so I don't believe it is being done at this point. Maggie said something about, well, maybe we should put that in the application form for a new owner or for a renter. And the only problem with that I can see is that I think it's better that we have some sort of explanation of why we're asking for that, instead of just putting it in a line in an application and say yes or no, show my email or not. I think it's better to explain, no, this is the way for other people in the neighborhood to contact you. And so I think
and at that time address any security issues they might have.
right, exactly. Explain to them that this email is not being out there with the public.
But yeah,
That this is in a private part of the website in our directory. And so I think without sort of a little bit of background and explanation, people may tend to say, well, no, I don't want my email shown. Because we all get too many emails, right? I think I counted, I just went back to try to find an email from a week ago, or actually only 4 or 5 days ago. And I went through 200, I think, to find that.
We want to have a complete directory is the reason. And I'm looking at all the, I looked at the Village of Palm Tree. I can see one that's missing right away. There's no, it doesn't show any 462. The unit exists, and it doesn't list 462 at all.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's any others missing. I just briefly scrolled through Palm Tree Village.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, the reason is basically we're not nosy. I don't care if they want to put their email address or not, or phone number or anything. I think we, as an association, have a right to know who our neighbors are and have a complete directory. That was the original intent. We don't care if they want to list their email or not, or put their photo on there. I mean, whatever they want to do.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jane.
I can't help but think that putting it on the application is a good idea, but I would put just a line underneath where it says fill in your email, just saying your email will be shown unless you opt out. And that way the default is for the email to show up. People have to have a feeling that they do not want their email shown. 99% of people won't.
Unfortunately, the state statute says it the other way. It allows you
better
to
if
do
the
that with the phone number.
default is to be included in the specific application, because Maggie doesn't know. Next person who comes along won't know. Better if it's just in black and white on the application.
Well, again, the problem with that is that you can do that with the phone number, but the state, for whatever reason, makes it different on the email. So you can't say, well, we're just going to put your email in and you can then opt out. It's got to be, you got to ask them if they want in. And I don't think it makes sense. I think it's a bad rule, but that's the state statute on that.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have done it that way with the phone. We do put the phone number in without asking them. And they can go in and they can hide it if they want. And that's been the case for some time, but I remember taking a look at the email some time ago, and it just, they didn't do the same thing with the email as they did with the phone number. Lynn, you had something?
I was just going to make that point. You have to opt in.
Yeah, you have to ask them. Yeah, and I don't think we are. So, and I don't think in general that most people have a problem with it. But George makes a good point. We need to take a look and see if there are anyone else that's missing somehow from our directory.
Well, it's simple. You just go to the directory and say, I want to look at a village, and just go down the line and see if there's
Just go right
missing.
down the line. The
And
only thing you have to be aware of is that occasionally we do
there's
have
a break, right?
a unit number that we don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, because you go from cluster to cluster.
Right.
And a cluster always starts with a fresh digit, a decimal point.
Right.
You know.
Right. So let's do that. Let's check on that to make sure we've got everybody in the directory. The next thing on the agenda. Where is it here? Oh, well, it actually has to do with emails, and that is one of the things that I did was sort of belatedly, I did run a list of all the unit owners. Actually, I think it's all the residents, and it didn't. You can ask it to show the email. I mean, you can change the listing on that directory to show addresses, emails, phone numbers, whatever you wanted to show. And so I did it with the emails, and it looked to me like there was about 100 people that don't have an email. And I know that when we first started doing websites, we asked the cluster advisors to go around and do a little form that asked people for their emails. I don't know any other way. Maybe you have some suggestions of how would we, do we want to try to obtain the emails for those people that aren't listed? And how would we go about doing it? Now, there are a few people on that list that there's a good reason why they don't have their email in there, and that is at least some of the people have more than one unit. And one of the sort of drawbacks, in my opinion, of this particular website is that you can't have two registrations or two people on there with the same email address. Email addresses in this website are unique. And so they are, you know, we've run into that a few times with people that their wife or spouse may be on the website. Well, they can't use the same email address. They have to have a different one. And so I saw right away at the top of the list was John West. And I know John and Barb have more than one unit. So the unit, one of the units they have, not the one they live in, but one that they own, didn't have an email address. So there's going to be a few of those. I don't think a lot, but there's going to be, I don't know, a few that are going to not have an email address because they're using that email address that they like to have for one of their other units.
And also there's more addresses than there are units, because my wife and I, we each have a listing. So it looks like there's more units than there actually are, if you wanted to count, you know?
Right. In fact, one of the things that, come on. One of the things that is possible to take a look at is the fact that when we send out an email to everybody, all owners, that there are 560, 558, 570. There are more emails than you're right, than
Right.
And that's because of two people in the same household or more having an email address. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's very common to look at the list and you'll see a unit repeated 2 or 3 times sometimes.
Right. Any ideas about, I do know that at the beginning of each year, we try to update a census form. And I suppose we could, you know, make sure that census form had, I don't know if it has a place for email address on it. I can't remember what it looks like. We probably have one on the website somewhere. But that would be one way to see if we could capture a few more email addresses. And I have gotten the impression that the cluster advisor group may be going to get together again or have a meeting actually. And if they do, then this might be a project for them. And but I'm sure there are people out there that don't have an email address, and that's fine. You know, we have it brings up the point that the TV channel has been down for I think a month or more. And it's because there was something that happened to some device in the office there that belongs to Spectrum, and Spectrum doesn't seem to want to fix it very bad. And so I asked Maggie, I said, are you, yeah, she said, I get a couple of people calling, but I don't think it's very many. So I guess I would think it'd actually be easier if we dropped the TV channel myself, but I don't know if that's gonna.
I'm for that.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie said something about, well, maybe we could have a little class for people that don't know how to take a look at the website, and you know, I tried that, and there's no harm in trying it again, but we didn't get much response. I think I had 2 people once, and we tried it more than once. So, but again, the people that aren't comfortable with computers aren't are reluctant to even come to a class. They don't like to be, they don't like to feel like they're behind the 8 ball, I guess. But it may be something we could try.
I think it's worth trying again. Mainly because I'm guessing that lots of people got smartphones during COVID times who were sort of pushed in that direction. So it might be there are more customers now, or who people who don't know you can look at a website on your phone.
Right, you're absolutely right, and they may not have a laptop or they may not have a desktop computer, but they do have a phone, and they could look at the website with that. So yeah, we'll see about doing that probably towards the January time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I have a good friend, a neighbor, and she's always been somewhat hesitant using her computer. And she has an email address, but she can't figure out how to get into it. So she uses her husband's, and that works. I guess he can get into his email, but she's had trouble getting into her. The next item would be the digitization of documents and search issues. We haven't really started the process, and I apologize, Jane. I should have probably kept you up to date a little better on this. One of the problems is that I sort of discovered this not that long ago, and so I sent a ticket into the support people asking about the search feature. And the question I said is that we don't seem to be able to find something inside a document. Does it work better with a Word document versus a PDF? And because I thought, well, maybe that's the problem. PDFs are not as easy to search as Word documents. We tend to put almost all of our documents in Word, or I mean in PDFs, because it's easier for people to read them and download them. If you put a Word, you can put a Word document on the website, but it generally you got to have Word to open it, and not everybody would necessarily have Word. So it's why we generally make almost, as far as I know, every document is a PDF. I mean, I change everything that I see or put on the website to a PDF, and I think Maggie does too. But here was the response. It says it will only search for content on the pages and not within the documents. So that's a serious issue if it can't search within a document. And so, yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Isn't it the case that once you have it in PDF form, I guess you're not looking at it on the PDF application anymore? Yeah.
The one solution that I thought about was this, that on the page where a document is listed, we put below the document itself a table of contents. And it can be a relatively brief table of contents, but that way that those table of contents items would be searchable. I think the way I interpret it, what the support people said. And I have done a search and I have seen the titles of documents because they're on the page. So I think that that might be one solution to this issue. I think it'll be mostly important with our association documents. I'm not sure we want to go through every document and do this, but I think it would be certainly a document. If we take a look at the association documents, if you put in a search for incorporation, condominium, rules, restriction, any of these words on this page, the search will find them. At least that's been my experience. It'll even find, and this one I don't quite understand. If you look at maybe it's not in this area. It looked like that one of the frequently asked questions, and I think it's the one that we did, not the one that John does. It did find things in that document, but I'm not sure exactly why. But it seems to me that one of the things that we could do is be underneath an articles of incorporation, we might simply put some of the major parts, like maybe the purposes, powers, something like that. Maybe each one of these things should be underneath it, and that way, and we could put a link to this particular area. So if we wanted to, we could put indemnification of officers or directors as part of the table of contents, and that way when you did a search on indemnification or officers or directors, it would find that area and you could actually go to that section of the document. So the other option would be to do sort of an index, but I think an index is probably maybe overkill and much longer. Go ahead, Lynn.
I'm still perplexed about the answer that the guy gave you. Have you tried opening a document that's in searchable PDF form that you know it is that to start with, a multi-page document, and then tried to search within that document?
Oh, no, I haven't. No.
Because I'm not sure that what he's telling you is what we're interpreting it to be. So let's try that.
Okay.
I mean, if we have a multi-page document that we have generated that is posted on that website in PDF form, once you open the document, can you search for things that are on not the front page, but other pages?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't tried that. And that may work.
It should work. I've never heard of this problem on any other, you look at other websites and it's either searchable or not.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that their website isn't a little more, that their search function isn't a little better than what they're describing.
I'm trying to think what uses we think there would be for the search function. For example, if someone wanted to see every rule that had been put in place about pets, for instance, you wouldn't know which document to go to and open. You'd really want it to be able to search everything, right?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, especially because we may have put some additional documents in the residence area that
Right.
apply that aren't in the rules and regulations. I think one of the searches I tried was for the word barking, and
Yeah.
I didn't get to the rules where we do address barking.
Well, and things like the flooring issue that seems to have changed over the history of the association, you know, and people might want to figure out the whole, you know, but you'd want to look at minutes and rules and all of that, I think, but
Well, maybe in that sense, the idea of an index, a carefully curated index,
Yeah,
what that shows what documents on what page deal with pet behavior, without being any more specific: barking, weight, disposition, leashes, just pets.
yeah.
And a few more choice selections are trucks. I don't know, but just things that, for example, if we went through the FAQ, the one that we wrote, not
Right.
the official one, and we say in several places, see documents.
Yes.
Well, good luck,
Yeah.
take an afternoon and, see the documents.
could we make for every document just kind of a keyword list that was, which would be similar to a table of contents, or would that be confusing to people to put it?
Either keywords or an index form. I mean, it's either way. I'm not talking about table of contents. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, the most important thing for us to be able to search would be the association documents. I mean, it's nice to be able to search other documents that we put on the website, but it's pretty important to be able to search the association documents. And I've watched people, George, you've got a book, right? How thick is the book?
What?
Your manual for your board of directors manual.
Board of Directors manual?
Yeah, don't you have a manual?
No, I'm not familiar with that at all.
Oh, okay. I thought every board of directors member had a manual.
This one doesn't.
With all the documents from the main association documents in it.
No.
They must have stopped doing that.
I guess so.
Because I've seen Claire pull it out and try to find something in it, and it's not easy to find stuff. It's a lot of pages. So it seems to me that being able to search those documents to find something is important.
Yeah. And I think, everything that a resident must have by law, not an owner, should be a searchable PDF on the web.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just don't know exactly how we're going to get that accomplished.
Well, can we sort of make a list of steps that we're going to go through? I mean, the first thing to do is the experiment that I suggested, that we put on multiple multiple page PDF, put it on the website, some obscure place and try to search, once it's open, try to search for information on the pages. And then the second thing is to find the cleanest possible PDF from the lawyer to begin working with. And, you know, didn't we buy Acrobat? It's now on Maggie's computer. I mean, not a subscription, but a copy.
I think so, but I'm not sure it's on Maggie's computer. There was an Acrobat software that was on Catherine's computer, and so I'm assuming it's still on the computer that is there where Maggie is, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, the other option is to do a monthly subscription,
Right.
Acrobat.
Yeah, these days that's
until
it.
we've exhausted our need.
And Maggie and I talked about that. It's something that again, I'm not sure she's aware if it's still on that computer or not, but she mentioned the fact that maybe we could suggest to John that we do get a subscription. And so it seems like she does want to use that. I don't think that either she or John realized that you can save any Word or Excel document as a PDF. It's in Word and it's in Excel. So you just go where you do a save as, and you go down in the list, and one of the ways to save it is as a PDF. So it's pretty easy to do, but I'm not sure they tried that. But yes, I think we should try what you're suggesting, Lynn. I'll put a document on the website with the whole document on the page, basically. So what you're doing is you're attaching. I'm not sure how we'll do it, but it'll be basically a page like this, only instead of opening the document like I have here, it'll actually be on a page like this. See, right now, the search seems to be able to find anything that's on this page, but it doesn't seem to be able to find anything within the page, within these documents. So if we put a document and basically on a page, like the articles of incorporation or any of these, then it should be able to search it, but we'll definitely test that. I did ask John to contact the lawyer's office about clean copies, and I haven't heard back yet.
Chris, it might be better for you or one of us to call the lawyer's office. I mean, simply because of you know, I don't know how much John knows about what we need.
Right.
We don't need. You know, it just cuts out one layer of interpretation or confusion.
Right. Yeah, I could do that. So that's where we're at right now. And as I mentioned, is that Jane had volunteered to work on this, but at this point, Jane, I think we have to hold off a little bit to find out how we want to do it and what's going to work the best. I don't know. We'll have to. I should be able to. I should be able to test the the idea of having the document on a page and searchable within a couple of days. So then the question is, how clean the document is, and is it searchable? And we certainly have some documents that aren't searchable at this point. And we will need to either retype them or do some sort of optical character recognition on them. I would almost lean towards retyping them, but maybe we'll get some clean copies from the lawyer's office. So that would be easier. And I said to John, I said, we need a digital copy. So, but I'll reinforce that with the lawyer. Anything else on this? The next item on the agenda would be making Zoom videos more useful. I think this was something that that you mentioned, Lynn. Is that right?
Yes. I've been occasionally looking at the board videos, and I'm not finding them, for someone who isn't familiar with the board and its characters, cast of characters, not very useful. I mean, not very useful, not as useful as it might be. Chris, do you, in your version of Zoom, can you, for example, put the speaker larger for the time that they're speaking? Do you know, instead of having everybody in
I
the
can,
same-
but I don't think like this. I don't think it records it that way. I'm not sure.
Oh, so if you looked at it live, it would be, that person would pop out. No,
Right.
actually, it's not happening with our meeting, so.
Right.
the
Yeah,
answer-
that's a good question. I don't know for sure if it records that or if it records what they call the gallery, which is this one.
No, it records the gallery. But oh, I see. If you use the software in such a way that the speaker was larger for the time that they're speaking, would it record? I think, well, I mean, I've recorded things that were just two people, and it, goes back and forth while the little box of the person not speaking is still on screen, whoever that is. So.
Right. Well, we just did it on this one, so we can tell by this recording whether or not this part of the meeting went to this look here with the smaller box over here on the recording. So I can check this to see if it works that way.
But I mean, could you?
And if it does, then we'll start doing it that way at the meetings.
So your software would allow you, pardon me, to make the speaker larger. Is that correct?
Yes. I have a button here which says
their little box.
It says view, and one of the choices is speaker, gallery, and then there's a thing called immersive, which I tried one day and not quite sure what it does. But you don't have those, don't you have those views on yours?
Not that I can select. I mean, it's the person that calls the meeting who has that.
I didn't realize.
I can, at least on my.
What are you seeing, Joan?
Up in the, are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm on a laptop.
Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's the word view.
Ah.
Yeah, but that's during the meeting. She's talking about watching the video. If it's
I
done,
know she is, but she's also talking about doing it during the meeting.
yeah. No, but she's talking about making the Zoom meetings more useful
I
if you go to watch them.
I understand, but I think she's also
Okay.
asking about doing
Oh,
it
okay.
as you watch it.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
think,
being done now.
I thought
It's being
that
done
everybody
now.
had that choice to view the meeting in one of those two
Yeah.
different ways.
I
It's
just,
being done. It's being done now on mine, and I didn't do anything. So
No,
it was
I'm
done by
saying
the host. It
on
was
the
done by the
recording,
host.
on the recording, can you select that view when you're looking at
Not
the video? That's the
It's not, it wouldn't be part of the recording. It's not something that when I click on recording that it gives you a choice of views. But when I went to that speaker view, we'll just have to see in the recording if it records it this way. It may very well. I just haven't checked that.
Well, I'm just wondering if there are things we can do like that would make the meeting more understandable to people. And I noticed the view that it's recorded in also doesn't have the names.
It doesn't have your name like this on the bottom?
It does now. It didn't a minute ago. And it did in the other view.
Okay.
But on the board recordings, there now it's off.
Okay. I guess I hadn't noticed that. But I don't know. I don't know why it wouldn't have that on the recording. We do from time to time have people that have some unusual names on their Zoom. But I guess I just assumed they showed up on the recording. I'll take a look.
Anyway, there are people who are board members, and then there are people who join who are owners.
Right.
And they're not separated out in this array.
Right.
You don't have any control over that.
No. I can't. It looks like it's primarily the order in which people are admitted.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you were the first one admitted today. Although George was admitted next, but then George sort of dropped off and came back. So now he's at the sort of end of the list, or end of the view. And so I don't have any way to change that. At least I don't think I do. I will say this, that there are a lot of options that are in Zoom, and occasionally I take a look at them, but I haven't seen anything that allows me to change that. So in general, the way the board meeting looks, I'm not sure we can designate who's on the board and who's not.
Chris, can I ask the names that pop up with the picture of yourself?
Yes.
Like Sue Downs has Roz.
Right.
Where are they getting these names from? Where is Zoom?
It's a place, in fact, Roger told me about this. There's a place where you can change it.
Okay.
It's
Zoom?
on the bottom of the screen here, there's a place, might be under video settings. where you can actually determine what name is on the bottom for you. And
So let's find out how to do that. And
Yeah.
every board member puts board member or just board. And this way you know that this person is a board member.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can- If in the gallery view, I mean, the speaker view, which I have on now, if I put the arrow on my picture, 2 blue boxes will appear. One is mute and one has 3 dots. And then if I click on the 3 dots, I can go down to rename.
there you go. There you go.
It's not there all the time. I have to move the arrow a little bit to get it there.
Okay.
I don't see rename. I don't see rename.
Sorry, Joan, would you repeat that? Where does the arrow go?
In it, when we're on the speaker
Right
view
here.
and my little picture is up at the top. If
Mhm.
I put the arrow on that
Oh,
box with my
I-
picture and wiggle it around, I get 2 blue boxes. One has 3 little dots in it. And then I go down, the 4th choice in my list is rename.
Right.
I only have 2 choices, chat and pin.
You know,
Huh.
I have chat
Um,
on my screen.
Actually, it's up, if you can, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's up here in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And there's a mute button, right? You see the
Yeah,
mute
I
button?
see a mute separately and then the 3
And
dots.
then it's the one next to the mute button with the 3 dots. And if you click on that, you should get this whole thing right here. But you're right, I'm only seeing pin on mine.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
But on Jones, I see the rename button.
Are you on iPad, iPhone, or computer?
Me, I'm on my Mac laptop.
Right. I think it might be different on each.
Well,
Like
there's a rename on Jane's.
Have
Just
rename.
There's a
rename me.
rename on Jeannie's. And there's a rename on yours when I click it, Lynn.
You know, I'm not seeing those on anyone but my own, the rename, because I guess
Okay,
that makes sense. You wouldn't be able to rename someone else.
right. But
See,
as a
right
host,
now,
but as a
Chris, right
host,
now,
I might be able to do that.
Chris, right now I'm seeing George's iPhone. Is that what you see?
Yes,
Mhm.
Okay, can you change mine?
yep,
Can you just call it George?
I can.
I still see George's iPhone.
Not
Oh,
now.
now I see. Okay, so then you can
I
list the
could go
board
in and
members
call all the board members board and
and list all the board members.
Yeah.
Board member George, board member Joe, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I could see where that would be useful. I agree with you, Lynn.
You could also ask the guests to, stop their image. Whatever you call that.
yeah,
Well,
no,
they have
they
to-
can,
they,
they can do that themselves. They can go
Pleasure.
to stop video and they can choose to stop their video. And some people do that.
Your coffee's ready.
Again, Chris, when they call in or log in, you always ask who they are, correct?
I haven't, I try to. It's a little bit difficult if they call in the middle of the meeting because you're sort of interrupting to.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
think it's not my job so much as the president's job to ask them who they are and what unit they're from. And
Right, but
I'll
I'm
bring
just-
that up with Sue because I think she should be doing that.
Right, and at that point, you could put their unit number next to their name, just, for that call,
Right. That's a good idea.
Because I like to know who I'm speaking to too, even as a board member, when I'm speaking, I like to know who I'm talking to.
Right. And I think I can do it on a phone call. I haven't tried that. Do what I just did with you, where I put I'm pretty sure that what shows up in a phone number is their phone number when it's a caller calling in.
Right.
And
Right.
so I haven't tried to change that, but I'm thinking I can. We'll see.
Chris, I want to, where I'm going is I'd like to make the videos as useful as possible. Because I think our first obligation is to all the owners. Even if they're marooned in Canada. But I mean.
When are you coming down, Jane?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
But the idea, and the other place I'm going, is that all board meetings ought to be on Zoom. It's this business of doing in-person board meetings with videos that happen later and people calling in and so on. So this is what I'd like to ask people to think about. Go look at the board videos. And then the other thing to solve is the people who are camera shy, the board members who are camera shy. Suppose we bought them Chromebooks that the office owned, you know, however many Chromebooks, which are, you know, $100 or something.
Right. Very reasonable.
And said, this is what you use for a board meeting. And you had the people, so nobody has to be stuck in the office or calling. And that great camera in the office that has the blinds, the Venetian blinds, with half of John and half of God knows who. I mean, the question is, how do we sort out all these things that impede the communication of the board meeting on Zoom to make it the best we can make it, and then see if we can't move to Zoom meetings?
Well, I think that at least.
Now, I know that's the board's problem, but
Right.
I'm thinking that if we can at least solve various things now to make it better for those who wish to, you know, use Zoom.
Well, I think that the name thing is a real good suggestion, and we can certainly try the speaker view and see if the recording comes out with that speaker view. Those two things, I think, are real easy to accomplish. The one board member who continues to want to call in rather than Zoom in with video, I'm not sure that I think that might be a lost cause. And the interesting thing is, she did Zoom in when we initially started Zooming. So why she stopped doing that, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't, not sure if she was at her home or somebody else's, another board member. She was on with another board member that time. And so I don't know. I do think that I'm not sure she has a legitimate reason for not doing Zoom, but I can't answer that. And Steve has been on Zoom for meetings, and why he goes to the office, I'm not sure.
I mean,
And
John,
at this point, the board has decided that they will Zoom through December, but after that, I don't know. I'm not sure there'll be. There won't be certainly some suggestions by certain board members that they not Zoom anymore and that they have a live meeting. Don't you think, George?
I think they might decide to do live meetings, but you'll always have the option to Zoom is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
very
That's
interesting.
probably true.
I mean, you always have the option to call in, and that's been replaced with the Zoom pretty
Right.
much.
Right. And one of the things that we tried and it wasn't successful, but I think it should be, and that is, I shouldn't have to host every meeting. it's basically an account that the Wildewood Springs pays for, and anybody could use that login information. And I suggested to John that they do that for a meeting that I was in the air, I was flying, and I sent him the login information and told him how to go about getting the meeting. I think I'd already scheduled it, so all he had to do was start it. And it didn't happen. I'm not sure why. So, but that doesn't mean that George or Roger or any other Sue couldn't host the meeting by using the login credentials that we have, which would be, I think we talked about this, didn't we, George? That maybe every committee chairman should be able to host the meeting.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It should be hosted by whoever's holding the meeting. Roz could do it, or whoever, you know. I mean, John doesn't have to do it. I mean, the board president could do it.
Yeah, and I can schedule them, but
Well, they could schedule it too. I mean,
right,
you know,
right. It's not that hard to. It's not that hard to schedule a meeting, and but it's now one of the things that, and I've done this before, and that is, I can make George a co-host. It's one of the options in that three little dots area, and making George a co-host means that George could admit people to the meeting. Can't start the meeting, but he could, once the meeting started and somebody else wants to come in, then George could do that. And I've done that with John. I've made John a co-host, and he's admitted people to a meeting. So,
yeah, but I could schedule it and host a meeting without you,
right,
as long as I use that ID.
right, yeah, and that would be more useful, because you know, otherwise I have to start the meeting. And
well, then maybe you should have a class on scheduling and hosting meetings for all the committee members, committee chairs, and
Yeah.
and the board president and the manager, and because it's just a matter of knowing how to do it. It's not that hard to do.
no, it's really pretty straightforward.
Right. Once you know how to do something, it's easy to do.
Yeah. Well, we can do that. We can have a little class on that. Any other items with Zoom?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to add, in this attempt to refine the recording of the meeting or the presentation of the meeting, could John sit in his office and use his computer so that we have a full screen? He does most of the talking on balance, which is fine. I mean, it's his job. We have a full screen when we hear him and we see him. And I mean, it's now with the camera and the office business, I find it very difficult to watch. You know, he has a good, clear voice, fortunately. And if it weren't for that, it would just be, you know, forget about it.
And there has been situations where if he's not in front of the computer, you don't hear him. And so it's important that he be in front of the screen, because most of the microphones are above
Microphone.
the screen. And so
Right.
if he's over to the side, there's times when we can't hear him. I can certainly mention that. There's no reason why he can't be in his office, and if somebody else wants to be sitting in the meeting room, on the laptop, they could do that too.
And then could Sue have the calling the call-in apparatus where in her home where she originates the, her own video? There's no
Yeah.
reason John has to press
Yes,
the button.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's easy enough. In fact, that's where she usually does come in from.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the overall request is that everybody look at those videos and figure out what we could possibly be doing that would make them better, more watchable.
Right. And the last video was a continuation of the board meeting from a week ago Monday, and the continuation's only about a half hour, so it's shorter than a normal board meeting.
And there was a continuation to the continuation.
Really?
Really, because when they adjourned the meeting, they had another meeting for 9 more minutes. I
Oh,
watched it this morning.
yeah, I guess you're right.
The meeting was adjourned, and then they
Yeah,
started
and they talked
asking,
about
and
something.
and they
Yeah,
voted on 2 items too. Well, the meeting was adjourned, so I don't understand that. Anyway, I think we've come a long, long way with the Zoom in the last 12 months. I mean, when we first started, remember all the feedback and the problems we were having, and so the Zoom has progressed over the last few months, and it's with these changes now that we've realized that we can include or start using, it'll be even that much more useful and easier.
yeah.
So thank you, Chris.
Well, it's been something I thought was important.
Yeah.
Go
You've
ahead.
done a great job.
Oh.
You've done a good job helping us along with the Zoom and everything.
Lynn?
Yeah, I meant to compliment Chris at the business of using screen sharing and sort of, being like a director in a big time TV studio, drawing different images up. I think, you do a terrific job, and I applaud you.
Well, thank you. Some weeks when we have a lot of meetings, right, it gets a little bit much, but I enjoy doing it. It's interesting how different the cameras are. Right now, Joan has a great camera. I don't know why yours is better, Joan, but you're very clear, very crisp. Jean, on the other hand, is kind of fuzzy. I'm not sure why, Jean. Maybe it's that Rhode Island thing. I don't know. But it also helps when people are closer to the screen. You get a better view, and so our next item would be assignments. This was something that Lynn mentioned, that we haven't been kind of going through our assignments as much as we had. We actually put these out a year ago. I looked it up, and I don't know where I put it. Yeah, this was something that we came up with a year ago, October 7th. And it simply gave each of our members here an area to take a look at. And so Lynn mentioned that we probably haven't been following through on this as much as we should. And I'm as guilty as anybody of not keeping my 2 areas up. So we need to take a look at this. I sent it out to everybody yesterday. And so if you could just take a look at some of the pages in your area, check and make sure the links work, and take a look at whether we can't do a better job of presenting some of the information. I did get a chance to update the documents area. So I think those are pretty close to up to date with financial statements and managers' reports. But I haven't updated some of the committee areas, and I need to do that. And so I'll work on that. And if everybody would take a look at the area that they've got and make sure it's working well. Anything to add? I did take some of the announcement area down that you mentioned, Lynn, and I still find actually something that Maggie called about last night, late yesterday afternoon. She said, "How do I add something to the calendar?" I said, "Well, it's pretty easy." And so it looks like she's going to be updating the calendar, which is something I think is important for her to do. So one of the things that's a little more difficult than in the older website is recurring calendar issues. In the old one, it was real easy to say, okay, I want something on every 4th Friday of the month, and it would put them all in. And this one is there's a recurring area, but it isn't as easy to use as the old website was. The next area is bids and contracts. One of the things that we have on the website is an area under board for board documents. Yeah, we have association contracts, and we have only 3 on there right now. And we have bids, and I don't know if there's any bids on there. Yeah, handrail painting bids. So we haven't, John hasn't been sending me that kind of information, and I haven't asked for it. So I need to do that. That is part of legislation that was changed 3 or 4 years ago. There was about the time that we were changing website providers, there was new rules coming out of Tallahassee, which said that those things have to be put on the website. And we haven't been doing it, so we need to. And I don't know if there's any guidelines. I was kind of hoping Roger would be here, because if he might be familiar with one of the classes he went to that gives some guidelines for that kind of thing. You know, do you do every bid or only bids over a certain amount? Do you do every contract? Or I think with contracts you would. But I think you might have mentioned, Lynn, that we haven't seen the paving contract. Now, the board probably got that, right, George?
I don't understand the question.
Didn't you get a copy of the contract for the paving, or just a number?
Just a number, I think.
Just a number.
Yeah.
But those kinds of things, owners have a right to see.
Yeah. And I mean, we also have an obligation by law to provide that.
Right,
And we should do so.
right. So I will bring that up with John. And he's aware of it. I mean, when this thing first came up, we discussed these things. And he says, oh yeah, we need to do that. So there's also an area, and I haven't kept this up as much as I probably should have. There's an area called notices. And we're supposed to put basically all board meeting notices up there. So we used it for the stuff that was pertinent to the annual meeting. But you can see here, by law, we're supposed to have agendas, reports, financials, and well, I shouldn't say that. I do reference that those are found in the board documents area. So I don't know whether that fulfills the law or not, or whether I have to list those here as well. To be quite honest, it's kind of a pain to list them in two places instead of just one.
Chris, I don't know if there's anywhere on the website that tells you when the next board meeting is. I mean, I looked and looked. It might be somewhere. It's obviously not on the calendar.
Well, that's where it should. That's where it should be.
Yeah, yeah. But if you were a new resident and you wanted to see a board meeting or go to a board meeting, you'd have no way of knowing when one is from the website. Because if you would go to board and you would go to notices, that would be your first choice, and that hasn't been updated in 9 months. And I guess unless they're going to use unless it's a fixed thing, well, we could add that to the board also. If it's always the second Tuesday and the third Monday or something like that, the same way as you use a fixed Friday. You could mention that in the board or the committee or something, that this is when they meet, because it's hard to tell when there's a meeting, a budget committee meeting or a landscaping meeting, or
yeah, no, and
unless
you have to
call the office.
That's what Maggie called me about yesterday. Was she was putting in the landscaping meeting for November. And I said to her, I said something about putting the board meetings in. So I think they've established the routine of the second Tuesday is always the workshop. Am I correct? And I'm on the board. I'm not even sure. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And the third Monday is usually the board meeting. Occasionally,
well, that could be.
Occasionally something might get changed if you get a month that has 5 in, but you know, that's easy enough to put in the calendar if it gets changed.
Or we could put it in the notices on the board. If you go to the board and go to notices, you could just right at the very beginning say board meetings are held on the third Monday of the month.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. But the calendar should be updated. And Catherine was real good about it. Maggie is still learning.
Chris, I went to the calendar to look at something the other day, and I, by accident, realized that those are links.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But they don't appear to be.
you're
So
right.
should they be underlined or something
Yeah,
as part of the posting? It should
yeah,
be.
no, you actually, when you post one, you get you can put in a description. So for example, if you go to the Energy Committee meeting, you don't see much of a description, but you can put more information in there than what appears. And so that's why there's a link there. But in general, I don't think there's much more there because I don't think, at least I don't usually put anything additional in there. I did talk about this with Maggie yesterday, that, you know, she could add more, but whether or not they will or not, I don't know. I think the one that perhaps makes the most sense, and we discussed this, is the pesticide schedule. And you know, if she would put in there when the pesticide people are going to be in a certain area, she could actually, in the description of that, put more information in.
Just link,
Go
excuse
ahead.
me, link it to the page on the website that has the whole
Right.
pesticide schedule and be done with it. Also, the Energy Committee's agenda should be there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's what you see when you're adding a new event. Your details, what category you want to put it in, and there's a whole bunch of categories. And then a title, a location, and then there's a description. And I'm pretty sure the description is what the link it's linked to. So when you hit the link, you'll get this description. And then there's a mini view, which we don't use anymore. That was when there was a calendar on the front page, and we had it in one of those little boxes on the right-hand side, and that was a mini view. But we haven't been using that. And then there's a start time and an end time, and so it's, you know, I showed her how to do it, so we'll see if we can get her to put more of them in. What else do we have here? Any other items?
Actually, I wanted to say something about one of the forms on the website, the report a problem or submit a work order.
Uh-huh.
I got tripped up by sending in what I thought I was doing was sending in a work order, but I hadn't put AM or PM.
Oh.
It never went in, and there was a gigantic mess in front of the house. I got exasperated and called John and said, you know, he said, I never got it. So I went back and looked, and anyway, in the meantime, some fairy came in and simplified that form. So the whole business is saying what time and date and PM and, you know, writing your name 5 times has been eliminated. Did that get taken off work order also?
Not that I'm aware of.
Anyway, one of them got simplified in a very intelligent and minimalist way, and is
Good.
very much more user-friendly.
Yeah, I don't know. Work order.
Yeah, see, that's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah,
And the
no,
other one-
you're right. I don't see anything that has any time or AM, PM stuff on it.
Look at the report a problem one, please.
Sure.
That must be the offender.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one has a
Oh,
time.
that's ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Mhm. So
Um,
could we doctor that one also, please?
yeah,
Okay. And get rid of the star after phone.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, they just need a date. That's all they really would need. And one of the things they are doing now, and they really, this really seemed to be something they really like, and that is they track all these things now, and they assign them to different employees, and that's why John now reports at his monthly on his monthly manager's report how many things they've addressed, because he has a list from this particular area, and they can go back and take a look at a monthly report of how many work orders they did and how many problems they fixed. So they didn't realize they could use this the way they're using it now. So progress. Anything else? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move adjournment.
Second,
All right. It was good to see everybody. Well, what, I'm sorry, George, I'm doing the same thing the board does. We need to talk about the next meeting date. And I actually have 2 dates in there because the Friday is Black Friday. I figured that we would move it back to December and then have just one meeting in December at the beginning of the month. And so does the 3rd or the 10th, any preferences? If we have it on the 10th, it'll be a little easier to have just one meeting for the 2 months. Is that okay?
10th is good. 10th is good.
All right. Joan, any preference?
No, that's fine. I don't
Okay.
have any preference.
All right. Lynn, you okay with that?
Yes.
All right, we'll make it the 10th, and now we can officially adjourn.
Move
Okay,
we
thank you,
adjourn.
Chris.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.